Hi guys, happy Monday. Welcome back to another episode of Soulful Living with Megs. As always, it is so great to have you here back for a moment of connection with me. Hi, my beautiful friends. How are you doing today? I hope that your past weekend was so fabulous. I hope that your upcoming week is filled with so many new and exciting things. I hope that you're feeling good. I hope that you're into the swing of summer and that summer of outside energy of saying yes to what you want, hanging out with friends, maybe staying up a little bit later than usual, which is so okay in the summer, and just enjoying the weather for when we have it. I am excited to talk to you guys today. I'm excited to update you on the past little bit. As you guys know, it has been crazy busy, and honestly, I know it's been so busy for everyone else. But last week I had mentioned I was going to the island for my godson's baptism, and it went amazingly well, and it was so great to see the family. It was so great to meet the baby boy, and I love him so much. It felt like an honor to be there. I feel very special to be chosen as his godmom, and I just know that I will guide him in the best way that I can, and I can't wait to watch him grow. And it was just so special seeing my other family members and my other cousins and one of my baby cousins, although she's not really a baby anymore, I still call her my baby cousin. Her and I had a very special weekend together. We were both staying at my aunt's house, her grandma, my aunt, and it was just so nice to spend time with her, and we were talking about all of the plans that we were going to have for the day her and I hang out together, because for her birthday last year I had mentioned, okay, in the summer, because her birthday's in the winter, we will do like a sleepover if you want, or just like a girls' day, you and me. I'll take you out in areas around my apartment, because, I'll take her out for ice cream. I'll take her to the beach if she wants, or we'll just stay inside, have a movie night. And I was like, we can bring out my mattress and put it in the living room and have a big slumber party and make popcorn. And it was just so cute, us planning it together. And then the whole weekend we were planning on what outfits we were going to wear together that would coordinate. And I just felt closer to her after that weekend. So I feel very content after going to the island, as I always do, and I'm looking forward to going back in a couple weeks, so that'll be great. But I did want to mention something kind of crazy happening the other day to me. The day that I did get back from the island, which was last Sunday, I got food poisoning, and I've never had it before, but I was out for like 2 days. Third day was okay. I was getting back into the swing of things. But oh my gosh, I have never felt, I think, that way before in terms of the symptoms that I had. Like, I still get body aches when I get the flu, and I had really bad body aches when I had COVID, but the body aches plus the bathroom trips and the headaches that I had that entire time, it was insane, and I just had no appetite. I didn't eat for like 2 days. The most I had was like chicken soup, just the Lipton chicken noodle soup, and then like a ton of electrolytes. I was drinking that a lot. I had some watermelon too, thankfully, toward the end of the day, like after a day and a half had passed. But oh my gosh, like I don't know what's going on. And I know that there's stuff going around with produce that is made in the States, and I don't know exactly what caused my food poisoning, but I don't recommend it. It was quite brutal, but in having that, and then also dealing with the fact that my past couple weeks have been busy with family, with friends, with traveling, because I have gone to so many different places in the last few weeks here, and then also just preparing for a new job and trying to close up whatever I need to get done at my current firm. It's kind of made me go out of the routine that, I have consistently throughout the year, or at least I try to, especially during the fall and winter months when, there's not a ton to do outside. So, I've been out of the swing of that, and it made me want to share a reminder with you all that having an out of routine consistency, like whether or not you have a set plan for this is usually how my day pans out or my weekends or whatever have you, it's okay to be out of routine, especially your consistent routine in the summer. And this is coming from somebody who loves to be in control, to know exactly what's happening, how my day is going to be. But summer is just a different energy, and I know that you know that. So being out of routine in the summer is so okay. Like I stressed a little bit, the past couple weeks when I have been out of the house and not able to go to the gym as frequently as I do on the weekends when I'm home, or during the week I like to work out at lunch and haven't really been able to do that because I have been taken out for lunch by my coworkers. I've also been working through lunch because of the fact that I have so much to do, and then also I was sick and had food poisoning and couldn't exactly work out. And although that was a bummer and not really in my summer cards, summer is so, like, is a time for so much fun and spontaneity and just like doing fun things with your friends and family, whatever makes you happy. And so if you're slightly out of your consistent routine, that's okay. It doesn't mean that, you're not getting the physical exercise if that's what you're seeking in your daily activities. You're doing it in other ways, such as, going to the beach and playing beach volleyball if you do, or going on a walk with a friend. I think that there are many different ways to make your summer active, and it's okay to be out of that consistent routine that you've had in the fall and winter because it is a different season and it makes you want to be outside. And even to the fact of I need to clean up my house today. That is what I'm kind of dedicating the day to do, along with my meal prep. And I'm doing this because the weather is not going to be the best. And then I'm also thinking, okay, well, I'm about to have a week and a bit off for vacation. I do want to spend that time being outside, enjoying. And so I will dedicate some time to clean. But even in the summer, I find myself not wanting to spend my Saturday or my Sunday cleaning the house because you want to be outside and you want to enjoy and hang out with your friends and again do spontaneous things. And I think that there's nothing wrong with that. I think that, maybe finding time during the week to implement more cleaning, if you pick one room to do, I think that's totally fine. But just as a reminder, being out of that consistency is okay. And it doesn't mean that just because you're not doing it one way, how you normally would, doesn't mean that it will be the wrong way. You know what I mean? I just wanted to share that with you to remind you that summer, you're supposed to have so much fun and you're supposed to be out and about, and it's just such a nice energy. I don't want it minimized from the feelings that you have, the stress that you have surrounding, oh, I'm not maybe going to the gym as frequently as I am or as I used to in the winter and the fall months, or, I should clean the house, but I really want to be outside. Like, just say yes to the activities that you want to say yes to because we don't really have this beautiful weather for very long. So I wanted to share that with you. Wanted to share my weekend recap with you on the island, and it's been good and busy here for me. I feel a lot of love and support, especially with my coworkers. They took me out this past week for a really lovely lunch, and they got me my first Pandora charm that they actually engraved, and it was very special and close to my heart, and I feel very loved and seen by them. And just gearing up for some not forever goodbyes, but some goodbyes to say I won't see you every single day in the office. And so it's a bit of an emotional time, but I'm also excited for this new journey that I have. I'm excited that, we still have so much time left in summer. I get to do so many fun things, and change is good. And anyway, thanks for listening to that little ramble. I wanted to talk to you guys today about a topic that's slightly different than our usual format. As you guys know, for those of you who have been listening for a while, I kind of talk about really whatever I feel like in that week. Majority of it, though, being a lot of self-help, a lot of growth, a lot of, mindset shifts and how to be maybe more optimistic about your life and your approach to certain decisions you make, or just how you move through the world in general. And just you guys know I always want to remind you that your life is so sacred to you and beautiful, and that you're valued, and that I want you to feel good in every decision that you make and how you actually live life and be a human being. So I know that it's usually that format, usually pretty upbeat, sometimes a little rant here and there, or just like random topics, even about dating life. I love to share that stuff. But I wanted to talk today about true crime specifically, and how women in particular are very fascinated by this topic and reasons behind that. And the reason why I wanted to bring this forward was because I have been recently watching a ton of true crime. It's not something I don't normally watch. I usually am quite fixated on true crime documentaries, docu-series, any like type of podcast on it. I sometimes, actually usually always, if there's something new that comes up in the world, some crazy thing that happens. For example, I'm just thinking of the crash right now. I know that this is separate from the topic about like true crime serial killers in particular, but when that was new on Netflix, I was pretty hyper fixated on it, and I tend to get that way about topics that I find extremely fascinating, of like, oh my gosh, what's happening. And so I dove so deep into trying to find out more information as much as I could about this case that Netflix didn't show. And, I was consumed with it for a few days. And even I'm finding myself, there is a new case that is coming to light about a family that housed 16 kids in one tiny room that was about 12 by 12, which is just not a large room at all. And it was just so sad to think about. And I was just so curious as to what the heck happened to get to this point. And so I'm pretty hyper fixated on that in this moment, that I've been researching a ton, watching a ton of YouTube videos on it. And I don't know if any network, TV, whatever, Netflix streaming service, my gosh, will pick it up and talk about it in the future. I'm not sure, but I have been watching a ton of different videos on this, and podcasts. But it made me think, why do I get so fascinated by this topic? Why am I so hyper fixated on it? Partly I'm probably hyper fixated because I most likely have ADHD, and that is something that I feel like I cling to, is like a hyper fixation on one topic that I will think about for weeks and weeks and weeks until the next thing comes along. But true crime has always been a very prevalent topic amongst women in particular. Even the women in my life, we talk about true crime all the time. And I'm just so fixated on this topic. Even when I was younger, I'm pretty sure I started watching Criminal Minds in like elementary school. I was probably 9 or 10 when I started watching it. Maybe a little bit too early to start consuming that type of television, but I have been so fascinated by serial killers and the topic, not because like I'm not one of those people that wants to be their fan and write notes to the people in jail. It's literally not what I feel. But I think for me personally, I get so fascinated by this topic because my brain just doesn't process the way I think somebody who hurt somebody else does, in terms of like that dramatic of a crime. And I just don't think like that. I don't have these fantasies or whatever these people who do these crimes feel that they need to do in order to satisfy something in their brain. I don't have that way of thinking, and honestly, majority of us don't. Obviously, I feel like if we did, we would be committing crimes. And I think for me as a woman, I'm obviously hyper vigilant, and I'm not like every woman in my life I know is hyper vigilant, especially in public. And while we're not always the victims of a crime, most of the time it is a woman that is hurt by this, is a victim of these crimes. And most of the time, these perpetrators are men. And I'm not saying it's not the case always. I know that women can do this too. And, if you've ever seen the documentary called Maternal Instinct, I don't know that I would recommend it. I was listening to Tinks's podcast the other day, and she actually was talking about it too. And she was like, this is something that I probably wouldn't recommend. And same here. Like, I felt very icky watching it, and I just find it super disturbing that a woman can do that to somebody else. another woman, let alone just a human being in general, and a mom. And so that was really disturbing. I don't know that that is an okay watch, especially if you have kids. It's probably super triggering. But that's all to say, I know that women can do this as well. It's just majority of the time it is a man, and majority of the time the victims that do pass away are women. And, I know people in my life personally that have been close to victims of serious crime, such as murder and domestic violence. And it's just really sad that we as a society, and women in particular, are taught to be hyper vigilant about these types of things potentially happening, to the point that, you have to be so aware of when you're walking about in the street, that who knows what could happen. Could you be attacked? Could you be grabbed? Could you be kidnapped? All those things, like, I think go through a woman's mind. And I don't really know what a man thinks about when he walks down the street, but from conversations I've had in the past with my male friends, like, they don't really fear that. They, just pop their music in and they're just walking about, and they just don't have that same hypervigilance or fear potentially that women do, which I think is really sad that as a society, again, we're taught to be vigilant, because this can happen to you or somebody that you know, and that is a systemic problem. I think that it's an issue that there are hate against women and hate crimes against women. And while you're maybe not able to specifically like choose how you biologically are in your brain, like, I know that there are some conditions that like make you think like that. I also do think it's a product as to how you're raised and the upbringing that you had. If, it wasn't really stable, like, time and time again, history shows that, if you grow up in this way and this happens to you and all of these like traumas, it can create this, I feel. And I was looking up online at a few websites because I really wanted to know like why women are so fascinated by this topic of true crime. And I think even like male friends, like I said, that I talk to about this topic, they don't necessarily like seek out watching these documentaries. I feel like most of the time it's a woman, and if you're like with a partner or something like that, you usually put on the show and then you'll watch it. But like, I don't know that they're seeking to learn about this or to find out about what somebody else does to another person. I don't know that it makes them that comfortable, which is interesting because we are differing in that, males and females have that different like want or need to consume that type of media. And I think from what I saw, a lot of the articles that I had come across were mostly the same in saying that a lot of women can relate to the victims experiencing the fear and vulnerability that they had, even if like a woman survives some type of attack or kidnapping or whatever it is, like, and she's being interviewed or something for a documentary, she'll share these like feelings or what happened to her. And I feel like women, even myself, like, I can relate in the sense of I'm I'm feeling very empathetic toward her because I am a woman, and then I think like, wow, this could happen to me or somebody that I know. And I think we like can see ourselves in that victim's role. And I think that we're then not only using empathy to understand what it could be like to be in that role, but also understanding what is going through somebody else's head, which is my point that I had at the beginning of like, my brain doesn't work like that, but I am fascinated to find out why someone did the things that they did. And I think that's, majority of people feel it's, you want to learn what has happened to somebody to get to that point where they felt the need to seek out women and attack them and be serial killers like Ted Bundy, for example. Like, he killed at least 30 women in his life, and it's like, what led him to that point? What was going on in his brain, or what could potentially be going on in his brain based on his history of growing up, and what happened to lead to that point? So I think partly it's empathy and knowing that this could happen to themselves. You're putting yourself as a woman in somebody else and another woman's shoes, and that is an experience in itself. But then also the point of wanting to understand what is happening to this person to make them the way that they are. I also think because society, like I said, is taught, we are told that we have to be vigilant just because the past has shown time and time again that a lot of these crimes are specifically directed at women. A lot of true crime has to do with women being victims. And you're taught as a young girl to be careful and watch out for men in particular, especially if you're dating and the online world is, you have to be extra careful in the sense of if you're going out with somebody that you met on an online dating app, it's like, have you vetted them out to make sure, one, that they're real, and two, that they're not a serial killer or somebody that could hurt you? Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like men don't do this going forward for a date. But I have, of course, in the past, if I've met somebody on a dating app, you best believe I'm going to research them and Google them or try to find their Instagram to see how legitimate they are and if they're real and the validity of that. And, that funny thing that people always say, like, women should just work in the FBI because we can find things out so quickly. I mean, it's true, though. Like, we are taught to fear, especially men, when dating because you don't know what's going to happen. You're in a very vulnerable state and you're just already at a disadvantage being a woman physically. And yes, you can be a very strong woman, and I think so many women are, but like also depends on how the size of a man, like it's just a different physique that, you're already at a disadvantage in that sense. And so women need to do their research in that sense and like try to find things out as much as they can to figure out, is this person real or is this person a crazy person that wants to seek out and hurt other women? It's quite an interesting thing to think about once you get into these types of like articles and stories, and the idea of like, why are we so fascinated? But I think it comes down to those three things. Like, one, we want to empathize with the victims. We can put ourselves in their shoes, and the fact that it could happen to us is that fear aspect. Another one, again, second one being like, we want to understand this perpetrator and how somebody could do something like this. And then third being, how can we protect ourselves? How can we defend ourselves? Because at the end of the day, like, we want to be vigilant and we want to know, okay, what could happen? What would I do in this scenario if this happened to me? And that is a scary thought, the fact that we have to think about that. But I know for a fact that all of the women in my life think about that. When they're walking down the street, they think, what would I do if I were in this scenario? Or what would I do right now if the person that was walking toward me tried to grab me? What would I do? It's quite crazy. And again, I think just shows the systemic problem that we have in society that I don't know that we can totally get away from, because I don't know, like I said, if this is in your brain chemistry, like can you avoid how can we avoid like hurting one another? Because this might just be a psychological thing in some scenarios, but at the same time, it could come from, a pure hatred of women, or somebody like absolutely hating anybody in general because of the life that they lived. I think it all stems from how, again, you were raised and in your upbringing, and if whether or not you feel that the world has been unfair to you, so you need to be unfair to other people. And of course that is not fair, and that does not, you having a difficult upbringing doesn't justify any crime that you commit against people. But it's just so sad that we can't live in a world of peace and harmony. But then again, we have like wars and stuff, so of course we have people that want to commit crimes and hurt other people at a very, very, deep level that there's no coming back from. So yeah, it's interesting, it's scary, it's probably problematic in some scenarios, and yeah, it's made me think a lot just because I have been watching a lot, and it is one of my most consumed medias. Like, I am enthralled by true crime. And I think another thing is like, for me personally, I don't know that I empathize or sympathize, or the word I'm trying to think is just like resonate, I guess, with TV shows that I know are complete fantasies, like could never happen. Like, for example, certain sci-fi films, or like if I think about movies like Harry Potter, sorry guys, for those of you who like Harry Potter, I'm so sorry. But I'm just not one to be that enthralled with that type of genre, just because I know that it's not real. Or like the Game of Thrones, I feel like that couldn't happen in real life, although I don't really know Game of Thrones, so I could be wrong on that. But if it's like not able to be in the real world, I don't necessarily sit with it as much. But for true crime, like, this literally happens all the time, and it has happened all throughout history. So even though shows like Criminal Minds is fictional, they tie in real life, serial killers. And obviously, this is a specific show about serial killers, or like people hurting people and kidnapping and what have you. And then like the FBI catching them. But they do tie in like real life cases like Jeffrey Dahmer, like Ted Bundy, whatever it is. And the Zodiac killer, I think that's a real killer. Anyway, serial killer. Anyway, I I understand that like a lot of the playwright is fictional, of like this isn't gonna actually happen, but like it could. It is set in the real life scenario, so it could. And so I think that I'm just like somebody that thinks about it in that way. Like, I just like to consume things mostly that like could happen. Or, I mean, love reality TV show, and that's as real, quote unquote, as it gets. Like, these are obviously real humans. But yeah, I don't know. It's just been a very interesting topic to think about, and something that I wanted to share with you guys because it has been occupying space in my mind. And so hopefully that can alleviate and I can think about other things. But yeah, it's quite interesting. And obviously, as we're talking about why women are so fascinated by this, it did obviously bring up the topic of why some women fantasize serial killers, for example, and the biggest one being Ted Bundy. And, like, his trial, there were so many women in the stands, or in the courtroom, watching and consumed. And like, he obviously got a lot of fan mail, whatever, if you want to call it fan mail. And there was relationships in it, so it like made me question, okay, there's some of us that are very fascinated by this, but like would never want to, who maybe wouldn't be attracted to that type of behavior, but some women are drawn to serial killers. And so I kind of wanted to know why that was the case. And it's really hard to pinpoint, just because I feel like this is a very individual feeling. But some women may desire, a bad boy behavior, or somebody who breaks the rules. Some women are attracted to that deviant side, and it could trigger certain releases of neurotransmitters in the brain that, increase arousal or attention, which is very interesting to think about. Like, that could happen. And I don't know that you can choose that as well. Like, you just may be attracted to that. And, there's this condition called, I think it's a condition. Yeah. It's called hybristophilia. And it's basically where sexual arousal is linked to a partner who acts out against society via outrage and crime, which is so interesting. And I feel like that's probably one of the top reasons why somebody could fantasize or like want to marry a serial killer like Ted Bundy or Jeffrey Dahmer or whatever. And yeah, I don't know that I like feel resonant with that. Obviously, like, I don't personally feel that way about them. Like, I'm not gonna, even if they were an attractive person that committed a crime, I'm not gonna be like, oh my god, like, this guy is so attractive. Like, it doesn't negate the fact that he just hurt so many women. And the best example I can think of that is the one, he was actually portrayed on a Netflix series called Worst Ex Ever, and you guys have probably heard it. If not, I would check it out. It's real life stories about people who have had exes that have turned, a little bit cuckoo. And they also have one about neighbors, which that one was really sad. I think I cried in every single episode. Definitely the last three, but anyway, there was a guy who had a bunch of face tattoos, and he was like trying to find women on dating apps. He was super charismatic, charming, and like, yeah, I guess if you were to look at him not knowing that he hurt other women, like he was an attractive person, and so like that's I think he was quite fantasized online in society, and people were like, or women were goo goo gaga about him and like wanting to write to him and stuff. But I don't know, just because you're good looking doesn't really negate all of the bad that you've just done. And I don't know if they do that for fame or the need for attention or the idea of maybe I can be the one to change him or he'll fall for me and like never hurt me. I don't know. I don't know, but we as society are very drawn to dark things. I think that's always been innate with us. We are very fascinated by these types of things, and it's just something I guess to think about and take note of. And yeah, I don't know. But again, that's something I wanted to share with you. I appreciate you listening to today's episode and my thought process through this. And if you feel the same way, I'd be curious to hear about it and maybe why you are so fascinated by true crime, if there's anything different than the three main reasons why that I brought up today. I would love to know and hear and all of that. And so I appreciate you guys as always. I hope that your week is filled with endless opportunities of joy and love and light. I'm sending all of that incredible energy to you, so I hope that you feel it. And just a reminder that your summer is meant to have fun. Life in general is meant to be fun, but summer, be outside, say yes to the things that you want to say yes to. Don't stress about an inconsistent routine. You are still doing a very consistent routine. It's just a little bit different than how you would have done it in the fall and winter, and that is so okay. All right, guys, we will talk super, super soon. Okay, love you. Bye.